Welcome to Celebration Conversations. I'm your host, Sarah Taylor Young. Join me each week as I share inspirational conversations with fellow co-writers, artists, and friends. Here at Celebration Conversations, it is my hope that you will find motivation and celebration in your own story. Let's get to it. This week, I am with CCM artist Kate Stanford, currently a double major at University of Texas. She refers to her musical purpose as helping others find God's house, that home with enough room for everyone who is ready to bloom. She has opened for Mark Schultz, Jaci Velasquez, Salvador and Veritas. Kate Stanford is indeed blooming. Like the music she performs, she already has the ring of a seasoned professional. Listen to her debut EP Bloom on all streaming platforms today. Connect with Kate at www.katestanfordmusic.com. Follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify at Kate Stanford Music. All right, well, today I am with Miss Kate Stanford. How are you today, Kate?
Hello, I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So it's so excited. I'm so excited to meet you. I've seen you from afar on Instagram, and I just think you're super awesome.
Oh,
Um,
thank you so much. I could say the same about you as well. So,
Thank you. So tell me about when you first started singing and how you got started. Were you really young when you started?
I was actually very young. I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I had tried out for my school's talent show when I was in first grade. And I got up there and I sang Hannah Montana. And ever since then, ever since that performance, I absolutely loved being on stage and I loved being a performer. So I got into classical voice lessons actually. So I did that and I still do that. I'm a classical singer. And I transitioned into contemporary Christian about a few years ago, maybe in my early teenage years. And ever since then, I've been doing both of those genres, and I'm so happy with having those two genres. So
Yeah, those can definitely go
they
mold
coincide.
together. Yeah, yeah. So you're classically trained. As a fellow classically trained vocalist, would you say that it helps you with your vocals or it more hinders you?
See, I think this question depends because I think that with classical training, you're trained to be adaptable and kind of respond well to coaching. But then again, also sometimes I'm in the studio and my producers are like, okay, no vibrato on this note. And like, I just like keep doing it with the vibrato and they're like, ah! So I think that it kind of hinders and helps in certain ways. But overall, I wouldn't take back that training for anything. Like, I love singing classical music, but yeah.
Yeah, my producer Brian White, he's pretty consistently on me about taking out the vibrato, and I was like, well, I'm classically trained, I can't help much of that, so yeah, I know how it feels. So how does it help you in some ways, do you think?
I think that, like I said earlier, it's helpful to know how to respond to coaching. So, with my previous two singles that I just put out, Mirror and Change, I had worked with Cindy Morgan in collaboration with those two songs. And she's just an amazing vocalist, just like so powerful. And I responded to her coaching pretty quickly because I have been coached since I was at such a young age. And I think that just kind of responding to criticism in a positive way is an essential trait to have as a musician.
Yeah, I would agree. When I was younger, I would just, feel so crushed when people didn't say, oh, that was the best thing ever,
Yeah.
So it's really more detrimental, actually. So we were talking about Bloom and your album. Tell me about that and how it came about.
So I put Bloom out about 1 or 2 years ago. So I was 17 years old when I released that album. And the first song out of that album, which is the song Bloom, I released first, is all about coming of age and finding oneself. And I feel as though that was very applicable to my life at the time because, I was still a young teenager, kind of trying to find my identity and finding my faith and kind of seeing how those two parts of my life interact with one another.
Yeah, it's
I look back on my life now, and it's totally different nowadays being a teenager than it was, you know, than it is for you guys.
Absolutely.
So, social media was just now coming out when I was in high school, and it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. What's it like being a teen with all this social media stuff going on?
Well, personally, I'm still kind of in like the Gen Z era, but it wasn't about until I was maybe like, 11 or 12 when I really started, figuring out what social media was and what it was all about and how it would impact me. And I think that as young people, it takes a lot of navigation to kind of navigate through social media because you can use it in a positive way or you can use it in a negative way. You can choose to follow all of these people and compare yourself to these people, or you can choose to follow these accounts who inspire you and who inspire others to be confident in yourself. So I think that it's just a fine line of you choose what content you consume, you know.
Definitely. I think like adults struggle with that.
Oh yeah, I think
Even.
that's a problem, I struggle with that. So
Yeah, it's not going away. So it's just the world we live in, especially with COVID going on right now. It's probably going to increase, I would imagine.
we live in a digital world now, and it's crazy. So you just got to adapt with it, and especially with the pandemic, it's like artists are kind of focusing their platforms online right now, and that's what we got to do. So
We gotta do what we gotta do. Yeah, it is what it is. So
yeah.
tell me about your inspiration behind Bloom. You talk about in your bio how you want to reach a certain audience, and help them find God and be a very positive influence. Tell me about that.
Um, So my target audience for all of my music, so that includes Bloom and then my two latest singles, Mirror and Change. The audience that I'm trying to reach, clearly, I want to be inclusive to everyone and all people, but I think that my audience that I'm catering the most towards is the young people. It's, the young women and the young men who are struggling with that faith and that identity, like I said earlier, and I think that's a consistent theme throughout all the music that I produce because it's so much more than just clearly it is worship music, but I think that what I try to do is apply it to everyday life and how you can find God in your everyday life, not just in those church services where we're saying like, oh, praise Jesus and holding our hands up. And that's a wonderful, beautiful thing, but it's not always like that.
Yeah. So who produced it? Who were some of the people that were on your team with this project?
So for Bloom, my song "I'm a Believer" was in Palau the movie. It was on the soundtrack there, and I had Ted T produce that, and that was my first ever recording experience. So I popped up in Nashville, went to his house, and I was like, all right, let's produce this, and he was just absolutely amazing. He just recorded for King and Country's new album, and
Yeah.
I remember I was sitting in his little studio in his like little pool house, and then I was like, oh look, someone's calling you, and he was like, oh yeah, pick up for me, that's for King and Country, and I was like, what? So I was like, hello, this is Ted's phone. It was just so funny. I was like, what are the odds of that? For Bloom, Chris Bevins produced that, and he's just absolutely wonderful to work with. And then for Holding On, Zach Hall produced that song. So
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So did you write or co-write any of these songs on your album?
So Undivided, I co-wrote that with the Infinites, and then my two new projects, my singles Mirror and Change, I co-wrote those two songs with Cindy Morgan, and she produced those as well.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. So take me back to when you were younger, and how did you get involved with the recording industry? It's very different from being classically trained and a classical vocalist. How did you get involved with that?
Well, basically, all throughout high school, I would sing at weddings, and I was at someone's wedding, and someone in the crowd that like knew one of my family members was involved in the making of Palau the movie and the music track, and he heard me sing at this woman's wedding, and he came up to me afterwards, and he was like, would you want to like produce a song for a movie? And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, right. Like, okay, like, sure, dude. I'd love to produce a song for a movie. And sure enough, he gave me Greg Lucid's contact information, and that's my manager who represents me now. And sure enough, we kind of went out on a limb and went up to Nashville, and sure enough, Greg was like, yeah, I'll represent you, and we produced that song for the movie, which is I'm a Believer. And then my parents and I were thinking, we were like, why don't we just put out an EP while we're at it? So that's how it all started, and I think that it's just such a crazy story, and it shows that, like, faith really, my fate was really, like, guiding me to where I need to be today, and that's just, like, that speaks wonders to me, that even happened,
Yeah, so it all started with you singing at a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
That's
exactly.
very cool.
In Lafayette, Louisiana.
So what is your life like now? You're in school. You're at University of Texas at Austin. Mm-hmm. Yep. What are you majoring in?
I am majoring in voice, so a music major, and then my second major is sociology. So I got liberal arts and school of music.
So you've got 2 majors under your belt. Woo, girlfriend! Is this your freshman year?
This is my sophomore year.
All right. So what are some up and coming things or albums you have going on? What are you doing to perform out now with the epidemic and everything? Pandemic, excuse me.
No, that's okay. Well, honestly, I think that what I'm trying to do is just create that media. I'm trying to get on TikTok. I'm trying to, put things out on my Instagram, my social media. That's all under Kate Stanford Music. So I've really been trying to focus on my digital platforms. But since I'm in school, it is kind of hard to do performances, especially with Corona and everything like that. But I had some festivals lined up over the summer, but those unfortunately got canceled because of the pandemic, rightfully so, because people's safety is, my priority, not
sure.
That I need to be performing at these outdoor festivals, with thousands of people in the crowd, which, I completely get. But, yeah, so just on a day-to-day life, I'm just trying to put out that media, get things scheduled for the next few months, and just see where it takes me. And I have a Christmas song coming out in November, so I'm very excited about that. And I'm collaborating with my good friend James Varian, so we're putting out a classical Christmas song, and I am so pumped about that.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. It's crazy how in the music industry you start listening to Christmas stuff like in the summer.
Oh, literally. Like, I've been listening to some Christmas right now. I'm in this mood. I'm in this spirit. I'm eating my pumpkin spice things right now.
Yeah. I was on a publisher online pitch the other night with Global Songwriters Connection. That's the songwriting group I'm in. And they had all but everything was Christmas. And my husband was in heaven. He was listening in. He was like, it's all Christmas songs. I said, yep, it is. Oh, he goes berserk at Christmas time. Have you seen the movie Elf?
That is my favorite movie of all time. My dad loves that movie.
Yeah, he becomes Elf. He literally, like...
I have an elf costume I wear.
Oh, no!
My dad and I have matching elf costumes. Like, no joke. It's so funny you say that.
Wow. Yeah. So I don't really have to do any decorating at Christmas time because he's already done it. Yeah, he's done the inside and he's done the outside, and he'd probably do it all over again if I would let him. He wants to start decorating like before Thanksgiving, and I tell him every year, no, dear, I'm just the day after Thanksgiving is when we would always do it.
Well, he has a lot of Christmas spirit, it seems like.
Oh, he does. Oh, he does. And my daughter is just the same. This morning she was talking about Santa. I don't know why. And I said, Olivia, is Santa going to come see you? And she said, no. I said, why not? She said, he's too big.
Aww.
Yeah, and I said, well, don't you know Santa is going to bring you some toys? And her eyes got really big. Like, toys? Presents? Okay, I like this guy now. Yes. So what is your single called?
Well, I'm doing Hark the Herald Angels Sings.
Okay, awesome.
So it has this like amazing orchestra in the background from Moscow, and like it is just like such a grandiose track, and James sounds so amazing on it as well, and because it's a duet. But I'm releasing the single version of it for my accounts and stuff. So yeah.
Very cool. So when can we expect that to be out?
November. So
November, so in time for Christmas?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Where can we listen to your music? What
Also,
streaming platforms?
so we got Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, pretty much all the streaming platforms you can find me. YouTube, YouTube Music, Google Play. So.
Okay, you're gonna have to educate me on some of these things because I still feel like a dinosaur. So what is Deezer and TikTok? I'm good with Facebook, Instagram. I'm good with too. Deezer, TikTok. Explain what those are.
Deezer is just another like music streaming platform, kind of similar to Spotify.
Okay.
And then TikTok is basically like the new like Instagram kind of, but it's all just like videos that pop up. They're very like short, like 1 minute, like 15-second videos, and just creators will get on there. So like say you're a musician, you can do like a little snippet of like you singing, or like, you know, what I eat in a day, or like how to make a smoothie, or like anything like fun, you know. It'll just pop up on your page. Yeah, just like little small videos, kind of similar to YouTube, but just shorter videos that kind of pop up.
Gotcha. So my husband was looking into like getting me on there and doing things for my women's conferences and my ministry, and he said that there was something going on with it, like Trump outlawed it or something like that.
Something like with like they thought that the Chinese government was like taking Americans' information, but then like somehow like we got TikTok to stay. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it disappeared soon, but we'll see.
Yeah. So. We'll ride that train as long as we can, right?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Well, we still got YouTube. Stands the test of time. So, so what do you want to be remembered for as an artist?
That's a great question.
Take your time.
Personally, I would like to be remembered. I don't want to be a cookie cutter artist that puts out music just to get listens. I want to put out music that is genuine to myself and that is on my heart. I don't want to just cater to one specific audience to where I know like this will get X amount of views. I want to cater to a wide variety of people and speak to many different people, because I feel as though my ministry through my music should speak to all people. It should not be selective. And I think that I want to be inclusive through my music.
So is it more a ministry, about a ministry to you and just sharing your gift?
Exactly. I don't do it to, you know, become, you know, this sort of like public figure or anything. That's not my way of like showing what success is. My success personally is how many people I'm reaching, how many lives am I impacting. That's how I view my success.
That's great. So where did you get that seed planted in your heart? Do you want to open up about that a little?
I mean, I think that maybe I struggled with like finding who I was when I was younger, and I think that a lot of people, you know, regardless of their age, just kind of need that guidance and need that positivity in their life. And I just, you know, even if it's like my song just playing on the radio, I want someone in their car who's going to work to just say, wow, I really needed to hear that today. Just the small things like that make such a huge difference in someone's day and someone's life, you know, and I just kind of want to have that for people.
Yeah. So did something along the way, was a song or an artist along the way that for you?
I really love Torrin Wells. Like literally every single interview I ever, like everyone's always like, who's your favorite CCM artist? I'm always like, Torrin Wells. I love Torrin Wells. And I absolutely adored his song Hills and Valleys. And yes. I remember just like in my younger like teenage years just listening to that song, and I was like, it just spoke to me. And I remember the first time I heard it, I was just like in the car with my mom, and we were playing like K-Love, and it like came on for the first time, and I remember being like, wow, like I love this song, and I just want to be like that for someone else and just, you know, have my message speak to them as much as that song spoke to me.
Yes, I love that song. I like when he goes, you know, he does that little run with it. Yeah.
He's so talented, and I just love what he stands for, and I think he's wonderful. But yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about some of your other heroes, artists that you admire.
I love Holland. I think that she is so cool. I think that her music is so unique, and she has a very specific kind of look and artistry she's going for, and she sticks to it, and it's not mainstream. It's not, like I was saying earlier, it's not like just the cookie cutter CCM. In Christian music, it's always seen as like, I'm making music for, say, like Becky, the mom, or I'm making music for, Tom, the little boy, or like who's like, struggling to like find himself. And it's like, she's not just making music for like the cookie cutter like people. She's like, her ministry reaches out to those who are, struggling, those who are, disenfranchised. And if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
not just, shallow things.
Yeah. So what are some things you hope to kind of bring light to in your writing, in your singing? What are some topics you kind of want to bring some light to?
Well, I can explain my latest two singles, Change and Mirror. And the idea that I got from Change was when I was actually getting my hair cut in a salon in Austin last year, because I feel as though God works through people when you least expect it, right? So I went to go get my hair cut, and she was asking me, she was like, oh, like, what are you studying in college? So I explained to her the whole spiel. I was like, I'm a vocal major at UT, and I do Christian music. And she was like, oh, that's amazing. Like, I'm a Christian as well, blah, blah, blah. And she was basically saying that in her church community, through, what she decides to do, she has, maybe a different lifestyle than me and you, and that's okay. But her church made her feel less than worthy to be a part of that church community, just based off of certain factors in her lifestyle. And I just think that is unacceptable. I think that, Jesus ate with the sinners. Jesus said, come to me, like we will all eat together. And I think that spoke wonders. And I was talking to her, and I was like, yeah, through my ministry, I'm talking to everyone. I'm not just talking to, the people who go to church every Sunday. I'm talking to people who are struggling in their faith, because we all struggle, because we're all human. And she told me, after I told her that, she was like, I just feel like you'll be that figure of change for the Christian music industry. And I just got the chills when she told me that. And right after she told me that, I wrote down this whole conversation in my notes, and certain lyrics of Change are directly from that conversation. And clearly my hairdresser has no clue that song is about her, but it is, and it's wonderful. And I feel as though God was speaking through her to me in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. What an amazing story. That's just an awesome story. Hold on to that. Like, don't lose that one. Yeah, I think it's important that we look at the church not as a place to put on our masks, and well, we literally have to put on our masks now. Our figurative masks, yes. It should be a place where people who are hurting spiritually can go to, and it's like a hospital for the sick. It's not a clinic where you go for a checkup. I mean, you could, but yeah, I definitely think the CCM industry is kind of changing, and we're just becoming more honest as a society about things. We're bringing light to certain issues like drug addiction, pornography, things like that should not be hidden if you're going to heal from them. So that's amazing that you're speaking about that. Awesome. So tell me about who are some of your early influencers as a young girl.
So this is just like, she's not a Christian singer, but I just love the sound of her voice. I absolutely adore Jess Glenn. She's a singer in the band Clean Bandit, and I remember as just like maybe like an 11-year-old, 10-year-old girl, just like putting her songs on in the morning and just like listening to them as I got ready for school. And I still listen to her to this day, and I love just the clean cut sound that she has. And she was definitely kind of an influence in, what I wanted to produce as an artist. She just has such a unique sound, and I love that. I love the uniqueness and the rawness of her voice.
Okay, awesome. Were there any male figures that you really looked up to?
I've always just kind of I relate better to female singers,
Yeah.
and I think that, as a vocalist and just like it's easier to kind of pull things from females' technique because the male and the female voice are so very different,
Yeah, yeah. When I was your age, it was all about, well, maybe a little bit younger. It was all about Britney and the Spice Girls. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Okay. I feel so old, but I'm not old. Yeah, it was Britney, the Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, yeah, Reba McEntire. Like I went from extreme Whitney Houston. She was
Whitney Houston, so good.
yes. Well, thank you so much for being on. I enjoyed having you on. Yes, yes. Where can we find you on socials again?
All of my accounts are under Kate Stanford Music, so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, all the social media platforms. I do have a Twitter, but I don't use it very much because I still am trying to figure out Twitter. But
Yes, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things with social media world. Yeah. So, all right. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you.
Hey there. Thank you so much for listening. Don't go just yet. I would love if you headed over to iTunes and left a review. It makes a huge difference in getting celebration conversations out there. Let's celebrate together. While you're at it, make sure to share this episode on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever your social media platform is. I would love to connect with you and hear about your celebration story. Come find me on Instagram at @syoungmusic.